Dark, like the points we will be. This time round, we want to look at the key players, predictions, and all the Derby Day hype surrounding the North London Derby, the 196th edition of the North London Derby. Tottenham hosting Arsenal at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. With me today to look at all the hype, all the background, predictions, players, starting 11th, and all that sort of thing. It's Chuma. I mean, we like to call Chuma indoor encyclopedia of Tottenham, but hey, is a football football guru par excellence. Yes, Chuma, welcome. How are you?
Oh, I'm super good. A very, very, very. I'm trying to think of the word, but I wouldn't call him deluded. But I'd say he's very optimistic. Tottenham, like I finally met an optimist, more optimist than you, and he says they should
Ah,
call the
who's that?
196th NLD. He said they should call it the North London Destruction. And Spurs will win by 4 goals to nil.
Oh wow, okay. I wasn't gonna go that far yesterday, but that's right up my street.
So he says NLD will now be henceforth the North London Destruction. So
I wonder who this person is. But hey, we'd love to hear from you. This is someone come on Spurs TV. If you're here for the first time, you always do this, don't you, Chuma? Taking over your role. Come on, let's hear you. Come on.
oh, welcome to Common News Spurs TV. And like we like to say, it is we've used different openings, but I always love the Afrobeat section of the Lily White Nation. Um, to dare to do is not only it's not only a motto of the club; it's the lifestyle. We are a very daring club, and fan base as well. We are very action oriented as well. So thank you for coming in. Sit back, fasten your seatbelts, and we're going to go with everything that has to do with hyping the club, hyping this game, which is a huge game in the season. I think I can't remember if it's Arsene Wenger or someone else that said the real season starts. No, Pep Guardiola actually says the season starts after the first international break. So this is game one of the season, and it's a North London derby. You have to be pretty excited. So if this is your first time being here, welcome to Common News Spurs TV. Subscribe, click on the notification bell to get notified every time we put out a video. Please comment, ask questions, give your opinions as well. And as always, always, always is Common News Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs, indeed. Right, so just head straight into business, because there's so much to talk about today. I don't know where we're going to start. I wonder how much time we've got, but hey, we'll try and cover as much as possible on this North London Derby. We want to look at things like the combined 11. We want to look at things like how the teams are likely to line up. We also want to see where the key battles are going to be in the course of the match. Is it going to be in defense, midfield, or attack? And then who are the key guys who are going to be against each other? Is it going to be Son against Saka, or Son against White, or I don't know who that young man's name is, Timber? You know. But yeah, we want to look at all of those permutations and combinations. So please, if you're watching from home or wherever you're watching from, we want to hear from you, your thoughts. We want to hear your opinion. We want to hear what you think about what we say. So yeah, it's very, very interactive, and we very much want to get everyone involved in this. Now, obviously, this is a sports podcast, but we're football folks, right? And as much as possible, even though this is a sports podcast, we try as much as possible to be balanced. You know how difficult that can be. Against especially when we're playing those guys up the road. So it's a little bit of a catch-22, but we'll do our best to be balanced. Which won't be Chuma. Hmm?
Yeah, no, we will be, and we will not use derogatory terms like gooners, rats, or any of those kind of terms that people use when they discuss. We're not petty like that. They're still, but we will refer to them as the people down the road or the team down the road.
Yes,
That's as low as
we'll
we
try
will go.
as respectful as ever. That's our mantra on this platform. Listen, guys. Right, so let's get right into it. So the match obviously is an early kickoff. As you said earlier on, it's like the first match in the season when you really consider it, because I mean, international break is when the season actually really starts, post international break rather, and this is the first big match in that spell. Now, Arteta has been there since 2019. He's had a contract extension for 3 years. I mean, we had this discussion yesterday about folks who have looked at Arteta and say, look, okay, maybe if he won a title by now, he might have given a 5-year extension, but he only got 3 years. Now, some people are saying that, okay, why is he even getting an extension? You know, because he hasn't really achieved much in the with what he's been given, and given how much he spent in that time, and nobody remembers who came second. Everyone remembers who came third, you know, who came first rather. So, um, so there he is having to deal with his in-house folks. But the bottom line is that he's been given an extension on his contract. On the other hand, Ange is in the second year in a 3-year contract, right? Now, as everyone knows, or as people have been alluded to, even Ange said so, that look, he usually wins things in the second season. Now, things in quotes, what does things mean? Is it a cup? Is it a title? Or is it a mix of both? You know? So those are things that we want to sort of see, and see whether or not Tottenham really have a chance this season to actually go a step further and sort of progress with Ange. And it's a big thing, for especially for, in quote, trophy hunters. And that's not a derogatory term, because at the end of the day, a lot of football fans follow their team with the hope of their team achieving glory. But when you look at it in the grand scheme of things, the number of clubs who've actually achieved glory, in quote, glory being winning a cup or winning the title, is so small compared to the number of people who actually take part. You know, if you look at the Premier League history, for instance, right, apart from Liverpool, Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal, and outlier there was, okay, of course, Man City, of course, won it four times. It's Leicester, right? Now, apart from those 6 teams, no other team has featured on the list of Premier League winners, and that has been going on for almost over 30 years now. That says a lot, doesn't it? You know, it tells you that for you to break that mold, for you to sort of get in amongst those chaps, you need to do the extraordinary, which Leicester did in 2016. Now, is that possible with Tottenham doing that now? There's Villa in the mix. There's, you know, other teams that sort of come up in the mix now. I don't know. I mean, it's up in the air. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're talking about the North London Derby. Schumann, what are your thoughts? I mean, given the way that the whole thing is set up, I mean, given all of the hype around the fact that, okay, Arteta has an 3-year contract extension. They're going to do out a lot of maybe key players in their midfield who sort of make their engine run and tick. You know, a lot of pundits will tell you that if you're going to choose a North London team, you probably not do without those two, Rice and Odegaard, being missing in the team. They'll probably make the first 11, if you like, or joint or combined, you know, North London 11, if you wanted to be what you might call objective, on a better expression, you know, given what they've done over time and where the team has been in that time frame. You know, you wouldn't replace them with anyone. So, but here we are. The key players are missing. What does that mean? I mean, from our perspective, from Tottenham's perspective, right? You've got to play with what you've got, you know. And at the end of the day, it's a league. You know, it's a season. You know, you've got to have injuries in the season. We have, bad injuries last season when we went on a good run, and all of a sudden we had this patch when things just went south, when we lost key players in the team. Now, is that going to be the same thing that's going to happen to guys up the road because of them losing Odegaard and Rice? Even though Rice is just suspended, it's not actually injured. But do they have the depth in the squad to bring somebody in who would more than or who will match the endeavors of those two, or at least play at the same level that as those two? What do you think?
Okay, so that was long, long. But I'll start at the beginning. Mikel Arteta gets a contract extension announced. I think the timing of the announcement, I think it was very well done because, you know, it's always good to counter bad news with good news. And in the case of the injuries to their players, you have an injury to Odegaard, um, maybe a partial injury to Calafiori as well, and then a suspension of Declan Rice. And then now you counter that with saying this man who has taken them from eighth position to fifth to second, he's now going to stay. I think that is the psychological boost that the team have. Not a physical boost, but psychological, and that goes a very long way. It's saying that the club ultimately back Mikel Arteta, they back his vision, and they are pleased with the progress he has made. And he will point to the players saying, I'm still here, I'm going to continue with you, and I'm going to try to continue to win. So from a psychological point of view, I think Arsenal have done really well. Now, in terms of the playing personnel, do they have enough? If it's one thing I give him credit for, and I think this is always the case when you try to compare Ange Postecoglou to Mikel Arteta, is the club backed Mikel Arteta, and I don't only mean financially in buying players he wanted. It was also in moving along players that did not match the kind of team spirit he was trying to build in Aubameyang. You cannot say Aubameyang was not technically gifted, but maybe he did not fit the kind of team spirit that Arteta wanted. And they also, the club moved along those guys, and the club bought the players he wanted. Now, if you look at Ange Postecoglou, in first season he gave everybody a chance to adapt to his system. Now, this summer we've seen probably the greatest movement of players out of the club that we've seen in a very, very long time. And so I look at it that if you're comparing projects and similarities in the projects, this is exactly kind of like what I did his first and second seasons as well. Now, in terms of replacing and squad depth, Arteta has really improved the quality of squad depth. Not that he's gotten great names, but he's gotten players that fit what the type of football he wants to play. Getting Urian Timber, who was injured all of last season, and Calafiori allows him play a back four similar to Pep Guardiola's, where you have four centre backs, where one or two of them can go into midfield. And I think that's what he's going to do in this game. We talk about players coming in. Odegaard is out. Rice is out. But you still have Jorginho and you have Urian Timber who can play invert into midfield from left back. So my guess, this is just my guess, I think Urian Timber is going to play, and Urian Timber is going to go from to defensive midfield with Partey, or in midfield with Partey, while Jorginho would be like sort of like the quarterback defensive midfield player, spraying passes that Odegaard would have done. So you still get your three guys there, and then you can probably take Kai Havertz a bit deeper in, and then play Trossard up front. Because I think Gabriel Jesus is also out, if I'm not mistaken. So he still has options. He still has options. Maybe not. Those two are a huge miss. They're a huge miss. There's no denying that. Martin Odegaard is an excellent football player. You know, I always say that there are certain players that I love them, but as soon as they joined Arsenal, I could no longer watch their games. Martin Odegaard was one. I kept screaming that please Spurs should buy this guy, and Spurs didn't. Mesut Ozil was the other, and two of them are kind of similar to me anyway in how they conduct games. Different players, but kind of similar as well. But in terms of squad depth, I think Arsenal coming to this game with a psychological edge. Arteta is there to stay, and he'll use that as his morale booster. And he has certain players that can fit into the boxes. However, I think Spurs, they will never have a better chance, I think, of beating Arsenal than having two key players out that, to me, make a difference. So I think, you know, I think also if you look online as well, the Arsenal fans are embracing this underdog thing. They say they're underdogs coming into this game, which we all know is tosh. But, you know, however you want to sell it, you sell it. That's their, as we say, that's their ginger. They're underdogs coming to Tottenham to play because they lost two of their star players. So now there's a ready-made excuse if they lose, and there's a huge brag if they win. So they can't lose for losing. So you're muted.
Yeah, I mean, I was muted. That's interesting. I mean, we said this yesterday, and of course, we're going to have that. And I remember that song when Arsenal had Ali. So Arsenal had Ozil, and we had Dele, and then we got Dele Ali, we got Ali. I just don't think you understand. You only cost 5 million. We've got Dele Ali. So I think we got Lucas Begba.
No, now, yeah, like you said, but I think also to add to what I said earlier on, my happiness is today, like all Spurs fans got a huge boost when Ange Postecoglou said that Mickey van der Ven and Dominic Solanke were fit. It just spread like wildfire, Spurs online, that these two are going to play, and that's like sort of more or less like supported the mindset that Spurs could actually try and win this game. So there we have it.
Yeah, I mean, this will be if when Ange wins this game, it will be Ange's first North London derby win. So it will be a bit of a milestone for him because last season we had to draw with them at the Emirates and then obviously lost at home. I mean, after a very shambles of a start. But hey, I mean that's his history now. But we have a chance to sort of get back on winning ways after the show at Newcastle when kind of lost in a way that Franco with many Spurs fans because we felt that look, there's no way we would have lost that match. I mean, all the commentators and pundits were thinking, how in God's name did we lose that match? Because it just was one of those matches when we should have been like 3 or 4-0 up by half time, and then come away with a loss. How? But anyway, so I think that's even the draw at Leicester was like, how did we draw that game? Granted, we started this season with clean sheets at home, and I'm hoping that will be the case when these guys come visiting. Even though they have a point attack, Osaka on the right, they have Martinelli or Trossard, whoever they bring in on the other side, and they got Kai Havertz down the middle. But in terms of lineups, how do you think the teams are going to line up? Let's just have a look at the lineups for that, so that we have an idea of okay, fine. So, who are playing and what positions are they playing? I mean, let's start with visitors, basically, right? So they'll probably have Raya in goal, right?
Yeah, Raya in goal. Ben White
probably playing right back, and then Saliba and Gabriel in the middle, and probably Timber on the left side.
Timber left side.
Now the middle of the park is where the shuffle is going to come in. Going to have Partey or Jorginho coming in for.
I think Partey and Jorginho. So if I was going to line them up, I'll go 4-2-3-1.
Okay.
Though they would keep shifting. If I go 4-2-3-1, we've called the back four. So the two midfielders would be Jorginho and Partey. Then the three in front of them would be Martinelli, Havertz, and Saka, with Trossard being a false nine.
Okay. How do you think we would line up? I mean, it's probably because we're not sure about Bissouma. Is he injured or is just a slight knock? Or is he definitely going to be away? So, where does that leave us? We have the carrier in goal, most likely, right? Pedro Porro on the right, and then Van de Ven. As we've been cleared up to start, hopefully he'll be there, and Romero playing alongside him, alongside with Destiny Udogie. In the middle of the park is where the challenge is going to be in terms of saying, okay, if we don't have Suma, who comes in? Is it Bentancur?
I think it will be Bentancur, Pape Matar, and Madison.
Yeah, I think that's probably what's going to happen. I think that's probably what's going to happen. Or it might just go for broke and go Pape Matar. So it might go Bentancur, Madison, and Beckville. You know.
Yeah, if he wants to be hyper attacking, or it could be Kulusevski. It could still be that same Kulusevski, Madison, and Bentancur. But I think because Sarr has this ability to cover, and if Porro is going to be more inverted, because Porro is more creative than Udogi.
Yeah.
So Porro is someone that you can trust. So if Porro is tucked inside more, you need someone with legs to cover. Bentancur can do it, but Sarr does it better. So in my opinion, I think it makes sense to have Sarr because Sarr can now do the running and Sarr can cover great distances.
So up front, would that mean now where the conundrum lies? Because Dominic Solanke is back. I haven't seen Solanke. Hello.
No, it's what happens when you keep hearing something the same.
I know, right? It's Dominic Solanke is back, right? So Solanke is back in front. And then what do we then? Who plays off him? Is this Son and Kulusevski, or is this Son and Werner, or Son and Johnson? Or what do you reckon?
So in my opinion, it would be Kulusevski, Son, and Solanke. However, if Kulusevski now is playing midfield with Madison for whatever reason, it will be Odebe.
Yes, that young man.
Odebe because Odebe can cross the ball well enough from that right for Solanke. So
and then we've got Johnson to come as an impact sub.
And exactly. Once you tire out whoever is playing left back, or if Timber is inverted, you bring Johnson. And Johnson's statistics as a substitute are really good. So it makes sense. I think he's a super sub.
Interesting. Now, I know we have all sorts of views when it comes to things like, over time, look at the history of both teams in terms of London Derby and somewhat. Arsenal obviously a dominance in terms of numbers. Probably about 20 wins ahead of us, right? 52 draws, we won 60 times, they won 80 times, that sort of thing. So probably about 21 more times than us. That's over since 1900. So it's like, where we take this now? In terms of, okay, so anyone will say Arsenal are the form team, current form. Maybe they have one or two key players missing, but do they have enough in depth to worry us on the day? Again, as we all know, on a derby, all form goes out the window. It's who wanted enough on the day. Who has the mental fortitude, the application, and the ability to go in and just do the business on the day. It sort of cuts out all things related to form. What's your view on this one?
Well, a lot of people judge it on past results and stuff like that. I'm going based on two managers facing each other. I think all the past is out the window, like stuff like where we played them in the 80s, 90s. No, it's down to whatever. And I think the result is Arsenal have won one and drawn one against Ange Postecoglou. That's Arteta versus Ange Postecoglou. And so my mindset is all that's out the window. I take it one game at a time. I don't go back. I don't want to look at the past results. I don't want to say, well, they've won 21 more games. That's history. But history has been made every single day in your life. So this is one game. Both teams are going to try and win this game. And that's where we're going to go from. I don't count past this thing. You're looking at a Spurs side that were trying to learn how to play Postecoglou's way last season. I think they've done better and they've moved forward. You're looking at an Arsenal side that 3-4 years into their process with Arteta. So it's more seamless for them that they can just flow, they pass well, they move well. They can play either an attacking mode or defensive mode as well. But Spurs is all attack, attack, attack. I think one of the concerns for most Spurs fans I'm reading online is well, we have this dangerous high line, this dangerous high line, this dangerous high line. But it's an element of risk. I think it's who can risk the most and not get caught out by their risk. If Arsenal risk a lot, they could get caught out. If Spurs risk a lot, they could get caught out. There's the element of risk. So it's who balances their risk better, in my opinion. And we're going to see that as soon as the game starts. We're going to see who has, because I think Arsenal may want to play a more counter-attacking football formation. But then we'll see, because sometimes they can control the ball. But I think because everyone knows Ange Postecoglou's main mantra is control the ball, get possession, have more possession. They may have less possession, but they're trying to be more effective. So it's a really, really interesting one to try to. But I just think Spurs at the minute, they, because of that result at Newcastle, like you were saying, like we completely dominated Newcastle. We were on top of them. We played really, really good stuff. We just couldn't score, or we didn't have the right player up front to score. You know, if Dominic Solanke was there, maybe there would have been something, because there are certain balls that are played in early that a striker would have gone for. Son pulls back a bit more because he's still trapped in this. Son is a forward more than anything else, and the opposing wingers went also crashing the box. But I think there's something a centre forward can do. So this is going to be our first time really seeing him. I think after the Leicester game, he had chances. He had chances, and he will look back on those games and think. So I think he has a chip on his shoulder coming into this game, and I respect that. So we'll see what happens. Arsenal are coming in. Make no mistake, Arsenal are coming in to try and do something. Bukayo Saka is I don't want to praise him freely, but he's a very effective player in my opinion. Technically, I don't really I've seen some great right wingers. I would never say he's the greatest right winger. What I can say is that his end product is bloody amazing. And you cannot be biased and say, well, it's not. His end product, what he finishes up with, his assists, his goals. Bukayo Saka is one to watch out for. Destiny Udogie is not exactly 100% into his real prime form at the moment. So we'll see how that goes, and we'll see how the yellow cards work out as well, because the refereeing is going to be such a huge thing in this game. Because if Spurs' defense get yellow cards early, or Arsenal's defense get yellow cards early, it's going to predict which team is on top more attacking wise.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. You mentioned those that element of saying whoever sort of get on top early doors, maybe because they get a yellow card, or they sort of have to sort of be a little bit more measured and be controlled in their tackling and the aggression, especially when it comes to key battles in the board back end. I mean, you mentioned Saka there. Saka is like, he's obviously one of the bright young talents that is building up a lot of experience and pedigree now, right? But last season, the season before, I was trying to do an analysis. I was trying to do an analysis between Jetski and Saka, right? At the time, I felt that, being a Spurs fan, I rated Jetski higher than Saka, for obvious reasons. Over time, we've seen now that, unless we're being biased, I think you say very, very, it's very difficult to argue against Saka being, off his game and, is right up there, However, especially on this day when it clicks, can be unplayable, and we saw that in preseason, we saw that in glimpses in matches that he's played so far this season. He scored a goal against Everton, and that's the sort of just you want to see, and we see that coming up to this game, it's one of those when everyone has to go out there and do their best. I was going to talk about the benches for both teams, right? Now, then the starting lineup, right? Now, for us, I'm saying that, okay, fine, if you had to sort of make changes to deal with attacking options, maybe we have the possibility of being whatever based on the lineup we set up earlier on, right? We have the possibility of bringing on Richarlison, right? And we also have the possibility of bringing on someone like
I think Richarlison is out.
Oh, is he out?
I think he's out. Yeah.
Is he injured again?
You know, he was injured leading up to. Remember?
Yeah, but
The
I think
Newcastle game.
he played the Everton game, didn't he? Or he came on in the Everton or in the
No, you
Newcastle
know,
game.
but the Everton game was before the Newcastle game. So he
Yeah,
was out for the Newcastle game.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And
Okay.
that's the last game before the international break. So he's 50-50. I heard they're trying him out for these last 2 days to see, but it's very likely. But then if you look at that, then so that means you have Odegaard, Johnson on the bench. If Kulusevski start, and Kulusevski's son and Solanke play up front. So you have Johnson and Odegaard. So you can move either Kulusevski or Son into striking positions if Solanke has any kind of issue.
And then we have Bergville and Archie Gray.
And Timo Werner as well.
And Timo Werner as well, yes. So it's on the other side, what would they have on their bench? I mean,
I think they'll have that. There's a young English player, Igbo heritage, Ethan Waneri.
Okay.
Ethan Waneri
is very young.
He's someone that people think he's like the future. They think he's a replacement for Odegaard in the future. So he's a very good number 10. I watch him, but he played in the same side as Mikey Moore for the England under 18s, England under 19s, or under 20s now. So he's played with Mikey Moore. I think he played in the Euros as well, on the 20 Euros, and he's a very, very decent player. I don't know who else they would have on the bench. I haven't really looked at their bench. I've only looked at their starting lineup really, but I haven't looked at their bench to see who they have. I don't know if they're really that stocked up.
They probably have.
I think they have a good
Tomiyasu. You know, they have that whole. I mean, I don't know if Rob Holding is still playing for them. You know, in defense.
No, I think Rob Holding's gone. Rob Holding's gone.
Yeah, I mean.
So I think they're wanting on their bench. I think this has affected their bench because I honestly don't know who they can pick for their bench. Do they still have Reece Nelson? Those guys.
Nelson, really?
Reece Nelson. Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that I'm looking at their side. I'm like because of the absence of those two players, it moves people like Jorginho into the first team.
If what's that young man's name is not available? Gabriel Jesus. What other striking options do they have?
That I can't even tell you. That's what's huge is I don't really think they have a bench like. But maybe if any Arsenal fans are watching and they want to comment as well, let us know who's on your
Zinchenko, they have Kenatieni, you know. Like I said, you have Waneri, right? I mean, and Tomiyasu. So I mean, we forgot Raheem Sterling. He's there, hasn't he?
Of course. How did I forget Raheem Sterling? Okay, so that even affects the starting lineup for me because
rather than playing Martinelli,
you could play Sterling instead of I put Martinelli in the starting lineup on the left wing, but you could literally play Sterling there.
Yeah, and I have that young man Kiwo, who's also in defense as well. So. But I'm not sure how.
I think they have quite a few defenders. They have quite a few defenders on the bench, but they don't really have as many out-and-out attackers as they should. But you'll be surprised. But Sterling is a huge thing because I saw some videos of him in training, and he's picking up form. I think Sterling is someone that just wanted to be loved. I think it's disgraceful the way Chelsea forced him out. I think he could have done well for them, but that's Chelsea's loss, in my opinion. But Arsenal, him moving to Arsenal, really, I wasn't happy because that's a bit more firepower and a bit more experience as well in the wide position for Arsenal. So I wasn't quite happy at Sterling moving to Arsenal. Honestly, I didn't like that move, but it's an understandable one from his perspective because if you say Arteta is Pep-like, Sterling's greatest period in his career is playing for Pep Guardiola and Man City. So all Arteta is doing is Arteta is really just recreating the band You know, he's literally, like you said, he's gone beyond copying to a point. You bought Zinchenko, you got Gabriel Jesus, now you got Sterling as well. Like, but no disrespect to Arteta.
That means you're about to disrespect him, right?
Everybody knows what I mean. No disrespect to him,
I know,
but
right?
yeah.
I mean, about the dissing. But honestly, but seriously though, I mean, that Sterling, that's a good acquisition. Some people might differ and say that his conversion ratio might not be the best, but he's always a decent addition to the squad. You know, I mean, you don't command those sort of salaries, you don't command those sort of transfer fees. If you don't perform on a consistent and regular basis, and he's been a regular performer for the past 10 years, you know. And I mean, if he came to Tottenham, I would have him in a jiffy. Honestly, I don't. I mean, I'm not even
I honestly thought him and Jadon Sancho were two players that I said if for whatever reason they ended up at Spurs under Ange Postecoglou, I would have been delighted. I would have been so delighted for both of them. But look at it. Also, if you're going by the way Spurs play with a high line, if you're looking for players to play over the top to exploit that gap, you're looking at someone like Raheem Sterling. You know, you're looking at someone like Sterling. They say his conversion rate isn't high, but that was because it was Chelsea, and the way Chelsea played football was different. Pochettino's style was quite different. Pochettino used him in a different way than what he's used to. But being in Arsenal, where they keep their guys wide as well, the same way most of the Guardiola guys do.
Talking of styles, right? I mean, obviously we know that we have this little bit contrasting styles in terms of the way we play and way we would set up. How would you sort of you're about to start looking at the setups for both managers? What's your view?
Well, my view is the thing I spoke about yesterday at the live yesterday, which is Spurs build with a 2-3, like two defenders, the goalkeeper, and then three, which could be a defensive midfielder and the two fullbacks tucking in. Arsenal only invert one. And I think that gives you more stability because as soon as they do that, Ben White is a centre back that can play right back. But in reality, as soon as someone tucks in, Arsenal become a back three. And I think that offers them more solidity. And this is what I would love to see Ange do, or Ange create something similar. But Ange isn't doing that. So as soon as they build up, Arsenal literally move someone. It could be Zinchenko, it could be Timber, it could be Calafiori. Someone tucks into midfield, and the three centre backs open up a bit. Saliba in the middle, Gabriel left centre back, and Ben White plays right centre back. Sometimes they could still keep it on the 4, and Ben White moves forward and still goes. But they have more defensive solidity because they have more players in the back. Spurs leave 2 men behind, and that thing I think is such a huge thing because your midfielders or your fullbacks are talking. They have to be so alert and so focused because if that ball goes over the top of them, as you scrambling back, so your only hope is you control possession, which is what Ange likes to do, and you don't get exploited down any of the channels of people tucking in. That's why I don't really, as much as I love seeing it, I don't really respect 2 fullbacks inverting. I am not a huge fan. I still like the one. I think if Spurs inverted one, it would be better for Spurs. Pep Guardiola still inverts one. He inverts his centre back nowadays, even not even the fullback. But the reason why is he wants more defensive stability. I don't think Ange Postecoglou gets a lot of defensive stability from what he's doing. I hope he changes, or I hope he makes it better. He says he makes Plan A better. So if he can find a way to make Plan A better, I would love that. But in my opinion, I think at some point he's going to relent and start to play 3. A build up of three players and then maybe 2-3 in midfield.
Okay, so we have this. I mean, obviously, the match is going to take all sorts of turns, and you're going to have battle areas in the pitch. You're going to have, someone against Ben White. You're going to have, whoever plays on the left hand side against their own Timber. I don't know if you're going to be Kulusevski or Odegaard, or but we'll have to see what that looks like in terms of, But let's look at the key duels we're going to have in this match. Son against White. Bentancur against Partey, for instance, right? Or but Madison against um, Jorginho, right? I mean, we know what happened the last time when the matchup and and who came out on top, and that was at the Emirates. What's that going to look like this time around? Let's look at the matchups, right? And let's just look at the Son Ben White. What do you reckon?
Well, with Son Ben White, I think it's going to be interesting. Is Son going to be an out and out winger on the day, or is he going to try and get in behind Dominic Solanke? So if Solanke is doing the Kane thing where he kind of drops deep, that will necessitate Son coming inside a bit more. And if he does that, that stops Ben White from dominating him. If he stays wide as a wide left winger, I think Ben White can overpower him. Ben White is someone I don't think you can dribble past him needlessly. I have a lot of respect for Ben White. I think a lot of fans don't really, outside of Arsenal fans, even some Arsenal fans, don't really respect him. I've respected his game since I saw him play for Bielsa at Leeds. I think he's a very, very good player. I think tactically he's very smart. Positionally as well, I think he's very good. So if Son plays wide and stays wide, I don't think Son beats his man one-on-one very easily. He's not that kind of winger. Son is the kind of guy that, same way we talk about Brennan Johnson, I think Son is someone who profits when the ball is in motion and he can run behind his guy or run off the shoulder of the guy. So one on one, I don't know if he wins that. Then you flip it the other side, the same wing. You now have Bukayo Saka against Destiny Udogi. I think Udogi physically can match up to Bukayo Saka. The question is, don't let him get on his left foot. Don't let him get on. Force him wide. They say he can cross with his right. He's crossing with his right. He's hit and miss. He gets good crosses in. But if you can stop him from getting on that left foot, because as soon as it goes to that left foot, it's the Iron Robin thing all over again with Saka. Is as soon as he just gets on that left foot, he's either creating or he's shooting on goal and scoring. So you were saying, I missed that. You're on mute.
I said it's game over when it gets on his left foot, right?
Yeah, no, yeah. You have to acknowledge his threat, but if Destiny does what he does well, he pushes them backwards. He doesn't allow him get that ball and he inverts well. On the other wing, on the opposing wing, because I think Timber is going to invert inside, I think Poro could get a lot of joy. It depends on how they play it. I think if Kulusevski plays, because we know Kulusevski, like Bukayo Saka, is left-footed, he always wants to come more central. He's an attacking midfielder, creative guy. So I think what Andrew wants to do is to allow Poro peel off him and go wide to cross. And in that case, Timber can't come back to defend. I don't know how Arsenal will do it, but I think Poro could. I think the mission would be to try and feed Dominic Solanke as many crosses as possible, and that could, if Kulusevski starts, he's not going. He's going to be trying the in swingers. Those in swingers he was doing for Kane, where he takes it on the left and just swings it in. So he can do that, or leave it off for Poro in more space and Poro to bring it in the other way in. Or I think there'll be a lot of crosses aimed at Dominic Solanke thing, because I trust him physically against those guys. William Saliba is an excellent defender. I have to come out and say it. He's really matured so much in the last couple of years. But physically as well, as much as he's a unit, I think Dominic Solanke has very good aerial stats. I think he's going to be a bit of a problem if you can get that ball to him, either on the ground but better in the air as well. I think it's been a while since Spurs had a guy who can head it in like Kane did. So I think if you can do that, even if they block it or they head it away, you have the chance to still take that ball back inside. So that's what I'm expecting.
I mean, okay, so you're gonna have Kai Havertz against Romero and Van de Ven. What's that gonna look like?
Well, I don't think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be an aerial battle. I think it's more on the ground, and it all depends on which, like I said earlier on, which one of them gets a yellow card first. If Christian Romero gets a yellow card, that takes away all his aggression. He has to play it smart, and that will allow Kai Havertz mentally have the edge and tactically have the edge on him as well. But Kai Havertz in this game, I don't know. I think like the last game, you just have to watch out for him. His movement is quite excellent. He's really enjoying playing this false nine striker guy role very, very much. So he's a formidable opponent, I think. But I don't know. I think the two of them can handle him quite well. My great fear is for the white players. If it's Sterling and Bukayo Saka, then our guys have their hands full because those two guys, movement wise, I think they're quite excellent. And I've been seeing been seeing Sterling in training. Like I said, I've seen some videos, and he's really getting sharp. So you really don't want both of them full steam, especially exploiting the gaps our inverted fullbacks give.
Interesting. So, I mean, scoreline is one of the things that obviously people have all sorts of views about. You mentioned the fact that the guy who's like even more optimistic than me, you call him Optimus Primus Premium.
Times 100.
Optimus Primus Pro Max, hey, listen, but
Pro Max, like Pro Max.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we have plenty of people coming up with all sorts of score lines. Some people are saying that's okay, Arsenal win because they kind of have this notion that battle for the top, battle for the title, and but even before we even look at the score lines and stuff like that, let's even look at see where does this whole thing fit in? Because if you think about it, right, so some people will say that the best Tottenham can do is battle for the top four. No chance of battling for the title. But it's the early days, and I mean, like we all know, Ange is one of those managers who doesn't set targets in that sense. I.e., he says that go out and win every game and see where you get to at the end of the season. Now, you win enough games, obviously it puts you into the mix. Obviously, we don't know how that's going to pan out over time, right? There's this little matter of Man City's 115 charges being tried starting from Monday. Now, would that have an effect on the squad, on how they perform? Who knows? Now, if we want to see ourselves as contenders or people who you want to be taken seriously in the mix for top four or battling for honors at the end of the season, it's matches like this that we need to be doing well in, not just doing well in, but actually winning. Now, it will be a huge statement if Tottenham go out on Sunday and win that game convincingly. It will obviously say, look, these guys are not joking and are not messing about. And honestly, is it beyond them? I don't think so. Something that Arsenal can essentially stop that from happening. Who knows? They're depleted in kind of key players. Those new players or those other players who haven't really had that much of an input into the squad, this is the time for them to sort of step up and say, look, okay, you've got to be counted, but will they be enough? My view is that I think we might just edge it. This is my perspective. What do you reckon?
Well, I beg to differ in terms of this being a huge statement for the season. I don't see it that way, and that's just my opinion. In my opinion, I think it will be a nice psychological marker for the players in the fact that they've done well and they've beaten a rival who is far ahead of them in the process or whatever it is you want to term these football cycles, projects. However, we've seen from teams like Bournemouth and Crystal Palace last season that even having a mid or medium or intermediate start of the season means nothing compared to the end. Crystal Palace and Bournemouth had a wonderful end. Their run of form was excellent and it boosted them up the table. So for me, whoever loses this match doesn't lose anything. For Spurs, it will be their second loss if they did. For Arsenal, it will be their first. all it does is it just fortifies you as a team, lets you know where you stand. I think this is, like I said, the first game. This is the real game. This is the real. Those first three games are still sort of in preseason mode for a lot of teams. This now tells you fourth game, fifth game. It tells you this is where you are. This is what you have to do to overcome. So, in my opinion, I just think no. I don't rate this as anything. However, I see four competitions that Spurs could literally do well in. I just look at us as top four. I look at us as top four contenders, but I think we can get a cup. I really do think we can go for the cups.
I love the way you sort of breeze through that. Oh yeah, lose to Arsenal, second match, second loss in the whole season. It's not a big deal.
No, I said if. I said if.
Hold on. I get that. No, what I'm just saying is that look, I know my people, right? I know Spurs fans, right? There's gonna be an almighty meltdown should we lose that match, because people are going to say to you, "Oh no, and it's been hard. I mean, Highline. He hasn't won system of playing, you know."
But the thing is, which coach doesn't have that highlight, you know? And then the real question when looking at in football, and this is the thing that drives me crazy, is everyone's talking about highlight. It's not about highlight, but the players playing the highlight. So whoever gets the club, we've tried to play low block. The players didn't fit low block. We now play highlight. You'd always have a problem because some way, somehow, another team everybody's thinking of how to beat everybody else. If you have a style and a system, you stick to it till it becomes good enough to do what you need to do. The problem, I think, is someone pointed it out online. Spurs fans were crying out for a rebuild, but Spurs fans are not ready for a rebuild. They're just saying they are. The perception is, oh yeah, we wanted a rebuild under Poch. If Poch had started doing the same thing, they would have called for his head, which they did. Let's be realistic. Getting Sessegnon, Lo Celso, those guys, and then Ndombele was a change, right? And look at what's happening to him. And they said, oh, well, we loved him, but he should get lost, right? So either which way, I look at Spurs that way. I've always looked at Spurs fans in general. Like, I'm very amazed at what I see online. I'm very amazed at what I see. There are these guys that have a podcast, Also Spurs. They have a community on X now where it's pure positivity. They don't allow negative Spurs fans on there. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong in being negative and being a Spurs fan. You want the best. We all want the best for our club. But I feel that even when you get the best, some people want better than the best. If there's something greater than paradise at the end of life, some people will still complain getting to heaven that the streets are gold, but I wanted platinum. It's always the case. Sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I said the gold is not shining off. You guys should be brassing it up. It should be like, giving the shine.
Listen, no, I get what you mean about the meltdown because it's already begun. Because people are already complaining of Highline, and Postecoglou. But what's funny was, you and I were here this time last year. Where everyone was praising the fact that this is an attacking coach that doesn't change his mind. Now they're saying, oh, hell, he doesn't change his mind. So he doesn't change his mind positively. Now it's, oh my God, he doesn't change his damn mind.
Right? So, it's like, come on, make up your mind. Listen, what I always say to guys is folks who engage in offline, not platforms, is that, look, if you experiment, do something, or try a system that people are not used to, if it works, fantastic, you are a genius, right? The moment it begins to go wrong, then you become a mug, So it's always striking a balance between ensuring that, look, you get more wins, obviously, than losses, but I actually think, in my view, again, I'm the eternal optimist, and I love Aaron to bits. I love him to bits, and I'm one of those folks who, I guess, I'm a Spurs fan to begin with, of course, and I always support any manager that we have, while he's there, and not sort of singing this negative vibe around what the manager is trying to do. And I actually feel that we have an extremely good manager in Ange. We have plenty of prospects, and it just gives me a chance to sort of evolve and get that team playing the way he wants them to play, and I actually believe that at the end of the season, come the end of the season, a lot of us, the us positive ones, I guess, would be top place, and the ones who maybe on doubting Thomas's side of things will probably shift to that thing and thinking, my God, this is a top-notch manager. That's my view, anyway. Yeah, so I think we're going to end up, if not challenging for this for the title, there or thereabouts, given what I know about the Premier League and how we've been playing so far. I actually think that I'm actually quite confident. Maybe I'm the outlier, but hey, that's me in general. That's my mantra. Optimus. I was.
I look at it. A lot of people like go, like you said. I agree with you completely that end of the season is when best to judge. But I also go with this: you go first 5 games, first 10 games, and first 15 games. And with someone like Ange, I always look at him like even when he started at Celtic, his first season, he lost quite a few games, and that Celtic that were actually a good side. But it took a while, and I look at it like I think the real problem in society now is, we live in a microwave world where everybody expects, except when it involves their own lives. So I can't come to you and tell you, hey, you started working yesterday, why are you not CEO today? They'll say, oh, come on, that's not how it's done. And you tell them, well, that's, imagine in 22 versions of you in a football pitch. That's not how it's done. you know just because someone has more money and a better coach, let's say Guardiola, you don't get a lot of Guardiolas. And like you said, you missed out one team, so hopefully they don't come for you. You missed out on Blackburn. They were the other outlier, but they weren't really an outlier because they were part of the system.
Oh yes, yeah, but hey, I mean, it was money. It was Jack Hall, yeah.
Blackburn had money, and they had the best manager in Kenny Dalglish, and they bought the best players in Alan Shearer and Sutton and the rest of them. So they're not really an outlier the way Leicester was.
And
Because Leicester didn't have anybody.
Sherwood,
And Tim Shell, of course, tactics team was captain. But in saying that, so you look at those teams and you look at the history of the Premier League. It's the teams, and I always say this, and I put this out there, and I think I said this to Zeus as well on the group. The correlation to titles is not in money spent, because people are coming with, oh, look at your guy Pochettino has spent 300 million, da 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 da. No, it's in the wages. Nobody wants to talk about 5 players, I think, above 150 or near 150,000. They're trying to negotiate with Christian Romero right now, because Romero is on what, probably like a 90 or 100 grand, and Real Madrid and the rest are promising him 250 to 300. So they're now trying to talk to him. Spurs do not pay well, so Spurs can only get a certain bracket of player. They could be quite good, but there's a certain bracket. The real change comes from who spends the most money on wages. They get the best players, and I can vouch for that by looking at the league title. Which teams have won? Leicester is an outlier because of wages, but Blackburn weren't. Leicester didn't pay the most, but all the rest of them have paid the most money, including Liverpool. So therein lies the thing. You buy more quality when you pay better money for them and pay better wages for players.
And then you match it with wages, right?
Yeah, it's wages.
Right.
It's not transfer fees, it's wages.
We don't want to keep you from your commitment.
Extracurricular activities.
I know. And let's just close this on scoreline. Say, okay, fine. Where do you see the scoreline? And I know we had a chat yesterday, and I came up with some numbers which you kind of thinking, my goodness, here we go again. Optimus. What do you reckon?
If Spurs get out of the blocks early and can hit 2 goals, okay, I'll put you. I'm 2-1 to Spurs. But if Spurs score those 2 goals early, I can see them scoring another to make it 3-1. But I think Arsenal will score. So I'm going 2-1 to Spurs. But if Spurs score those goals early and they're up for it, it could be 3. It could be more than 2 goals. But Arsenal definitely score. So 2-1. But 3-1 if not. If they score early and they're up for it. But on a normal basis, a balanced game, I still see Spurs scoring 2 and Arsenal scoring 1.
I mean, all the good play that Tottenham have had over the course of the season so far. I mean, only 3 games in. This is only 4th game, and the effort they put in, dominated matches, and this is pretty much, and I actually think that have a 3 goal scoreline is different. Like I said to you yesterday, so probably going to end up 4-1, 3-0 Tottenham. There you go. So that's my view. I'm Optimus, so hey, that's my nature. I can't help it.
Oh my God, 4-1. I think you guys are on something. I want to be on whatever is you guys have in your life.
I know, right?
I want 3-4. You guys are deep.
Listen, it's always fantastic having you guys on. I mean, I know. I mean, if
Yes.
you're watching this offline and afterwards, listen, leave a message, leave your comments, subscribe if you haven't subscribed to this channel, and listen. We are Come On You Spurs TV, and it's been great having you today. Come On You Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.